Welcome to the show. Today's show we'll be talking to guitar player extraordinaire, Mr. Larry Keith Estes. Larry, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity, sir.
Yeah, that was a pretty arousing intro you played there.
Yeah, I like to send that out to all the fallen soldiers and the veterans because if it wasn't for them fighting, we couldn't do the things we do during the day, you know. So that's dedicated to them.
Okay. Well, now, Larry, let's get straight into this. Well, I know you played a lot of different musical styles and
Yeah.
musical instruments. So what was your first instrument that you played?
Acoustic bass, stand-up acoustic bass.
Acoustic bass. How old were you when you found that?
I was these many, 9.
You were 9 years old, huh?
9.
What was it about the bass that caught your interest?
Well, I think I was like in 4th grade. This had to take us back to about 1970, and they would go around the class and ask what instrument you want to play. And I didn't know what instrument because I really don't come from a musical background. My daddy's a steel mill worker. My mama worked for the Board of Education, so I don't know where I got this from. But they started me on upright bass, and I used to drag it from elementary school. I was about maybe that big then.
Yeah.
Put it on my shoulders, walk 5-6 blocks home, down through the woods with this upright bass. All you seen was an upright bass going through the weeds down the steps. Take it home, go down the cellar, take it back to school the next day. Then I heard about this new advention called the electric bass guitar, which is smaller and can be much louder. And a couple years in, I think I was about 11, I got my first rig.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now, I found out that you also played trombone.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, actually, the same register that's bass guitar and trombone was the same, reading it was the same. I started playing trombone, I was in about the 7th grade. I was used to play marching music. I used to actually could flip both the music because it's the same register. It was good for reading. That's when I could see real good, I guess. But I played trombone up to, I officially retired in 95. That's a whole nother story. But I gave it to a good friend of mine. But yeah, I played some trombone.
Now, did you play in school? I mean, you actually, you had music, trombone music?
Yeah, I used to play in marching band, you know.
Right.
Yeah, and all city orchestra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was your practice regiment like back then? I mean, when you're first starting out, like say with the upright bass, I mean, you said you would bring your bass home every day and you would practice, but how long would you practice like after school on that?
You know what? It didn't seem like nothing then, but it was nothing for me to go home and lock myself in the room. Not say lock it literally, but for 3-4 hours a day.
Because you really enjoyed what you were doing.
Right.
Yeah. And was it the same way with the trombone when you got into the trombone?
It was kind of with music, period.
Yeah.
Then the guitar came along after that too. Now I started playing guitar pretty much the same time I started playing electric bass guitar. And I really only started to play the guitar just to learn some chords. I did not decide that I was going to ever be a guitar player. Out of 3 instruments, I did not think I was going to be the guitar player. But as I got to be in my teens, every band I played for, there was a bass player. Guess what? The first band I played in was the New Earth Band, and I was actually the trombonist.
Okay.
The guitar player went to the service. He said, "Oh, now you're the guitar player." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And I took it up, and I remember the very first gig I played on guitar, I stunk.
Did you?
I was playing out the Homewood Festival. This is maybe 75 or something, 74 or something.
Yeah.
I stunk, I ain't gonna lie. My first real professional gig, I was 14 years old.
Okay.
Played guitar, some bar and grill on Homestead. By then I was good enough to play real chords and stuff. And within 6 months' time, it was like, wow, you really came, because now you had to play the guitar.
Right.
Because I thought I was supposed to be playing the bass in some band.
Right. Now, let me ask you this now, about the guitar. Do you remember the first time you actually picked one up and actually strummed one? Do you remember what that was like?
Well, I remember the very first guitar I had. It was I'm trying to pronounce it right, Teisco, had Ford pickups.
Okay.
Cost $89.95 down Byers Market.
I remember Byers
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a little $59 amplifier. And first time I played it, you know, because I already had maybe 2 years of playing upright bass and bass guitar. I knew how to tune the bottom 4 strings with no problem. So, and to be honest, before I got a guitar, the summer before, you remember the RIF trucks, reading is fundamental.
Yeah.
Well, I got a book, and I got it because this is the closest thing to having bass guitar, but it had like maybe 12 chapters, 1 chapter of bass guitar, but that was cool. But it had all the guitar chords. So I kind of knew some chords before I even started playing.
Oh.
So it was like, I knew some chords. I was like shocking. I know I could do it. Yeah. But then once again, I would lock myself up in the room about 4 or 5 hours a day until my dad like come in like, hey, I done worked all day. I ain't trying to hear all this noise.
Right. Yeah, that's great, man. That's great. Now also, let me see. You were a member of the All City Jazz Band, and you played both bass and guitar. What was that like for you, playing in the All City Jazz Band? I mean, because here you are playing, because All City was composed of supposedly the best musicians in the city of Pittsburgh school system.
Well, I was about 15. I met a guy named King Cook, a teacher. He used to teach up at Shinley High School. And he pulled me under his coat. And he saw me playing, so next thing you know, I learned a lot of jazz tunes. I could walk on bass like the old timers.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. And he said, matter of fact, he used to actually do school stuff and do freelance gigs with him when I was a teenager. Yeah, you know.
Okay.
And my very first freelance gig, and I'm gonna get back to that question, I had to have a shout out to Nelson Harrison. I remember the first time he said, son, what you doing this Saturday? I said, nothing. He said, you want to play? I said, yeah. I said, we're going to rehearse? Because he looked at me and got a grunt, rehearse. Just do what you've been doing. I think I made $70. This is back then, $70
was good money.
Can't make that now sometimes, you know? So, but for I used to actually play the trombone part. Because there was a couple basses. They and guitar too. They exploited my talents, trust me.
Oh, I believe it.
And that and Ozenham strings, they did all that. You know, it was wonderful, but it was a learning time.
Yeah. Now, I know when you're playing with all city jazz bands and things like that, it involves all read music, right?
Also improvising.
And some improvising?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to be able to read charts and understand. But the biggest thing is to understand structure of the AAB song, ABA, ABAAC, whatever. Once you understand that, it's like the road, man. Once you understand that and understand the read, now you can improvise, but you get to know when to improvise.
Right. Now, as far as reading music, being that you started reading music at an early age when you were starting out, have you benefited from that, like later on, like now, in some of the situations you find yourself in?
Well, I don't do a whole lot of line reading gigs, but chord changes. I mean, most times somebody will give you a chord chart, all right? And you might read some lines, but back then you read all the time.
Right.
You know, me and some of my compadres that we always talk about, wow, if we could read like we used to read, because we don't have to read. But the biggest thing that I would tell all young musicians, learn theory. Theory would get you through everything.
Okay.
You know, I don't care how many chops you got, how much you can read line. Understand theory. It's wonderful, man. Understand that theory.
Right. Now, you were talking about how when you was playing in the jazz band with the bass and how you could walk on that really good. Now, that also brought you into a situation with a jazz icon. You want to talk about that? You know what I'm talking about?
We talking about
Mr. Dizzy Gillespie.
Yeah, he was in town once. I was with King Cook, the guy I was talking about earlier, down the point. used to have some, I forget the affair or whatever. However, I was part of the city jazz band. And his bass player wasn't cutting it. And I was like 16, 17 years old. So Ken said to Diz, I got a young man can cut this gig for you. And I went up there and I played his charts.
Went up there and did
played
it.
his charts, you know.
Yeah.
But still, he got paid for the gig.
Oh,
I didn't.
he still got paid.
He still got paid for messing up, but I saved him.
Well, that's good, man. I mean, that speaks a lot. Now, you know, I've always enjoyed hearing you play. And would you play something for us right now?
Yeah, man.
Okay, we got a track for you you might recognize. Matter of fact, you want to talk about that track a little bit?
Yeah. Well, me and this young man, Timmy, this when we was really young men, we played a track behind, was it Three Blind?
One girl was blind.
One girl was blind and two other guys. By the way, we never got paid for this effort, but we did a great job. Me and him was the only musicians on it. This is before CDs. On this recording, he played the drums, percussion. I played bass, guitars, and keyboards. Just a little bit of keyboards. But it's the first time I heard this today in about 20 plus years.
Yeah, I thought you would get a kick out of that.
Yeah.
Because matter of fact, actually, I remember that day in a session, you tuned the rototom in tune with the track.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know. I didn't know anything about tuning the drum in tune. You know, so you taught me something really.
Remember I told you, theory, brother.
Right, that's when the theory comes
gets you
in,
through
right?
everything.
Okay.
And didn't you hear the difference? It's like, oh wow.
Yeah, it was a big difference. It was a big difference. Yeah. So from that day on, I learned about that. Tuning in with the track.
440, brother.
Yeah. Okay, so would you play something for us?
Oh yeah, I ain't coming out here for nothing. Come
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, our friends at the piano and stuff, man, giving me a couple picks for you. And also they have a gift card for you.
Okay.
Because they recognize you as being an excellent musician and they always like to support us. So we'd like to say a thanks to our friends at Pianos and stuff for the support.
Yeah, go to PNS because they got fine instruments, fine amplifiers, fine PAs, fine DJs. Okay, so I should get something more on that, man. But
Hey, you can't go there. Yeah. But okay, go ahead and give us something.
okay.
All right.
You can play the track.
Sounded good, but brother, yeah, I really enjoyed that,
Thank
man.
you for that surprise. Man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, let's see. What we going to talk about now? Let's talk about your guitar a little bit, Larry.
What about it?
What is that you're playing there? It looks pretty vintage.
It's a '62 Stratocaster. One of my heroes. A lot of heroes play that '62 Stratocaster. One of them is Hiram Bullock.
Okay.
I don't know if you know that gentleman.
Hiram Bullock, I don't think I recall him.
Okay, he used to play on a lot of sessions back in the '80s. He's one of the Afro-American brothers that known as Fusion, but played on stuff like Al Jarreau and I'll tell you what, he played the solo on Chaka Khan Through the Fire.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, and Stevie Ray Vaughan, '62 Strat. I mean, that's the classic year. Them years there, the woods and stuff are just so great.
Yeah. But what about your strings? I mean, what type of strings do you like? I know there's a variety of different types of strings and gauges and all that. I'm not real knowledgeable about that, but for the guitar players that are watching, what do you like?
I use A7s.
Okay.
No, maybe A5. No. But I use 9s, what you call .009s. Sometimes I use 10s, but I basically use 9s. Diodarios are the ones I like. My picks, I like to use dumb like .15 or .96, all how I feel. I like the feel of these because they give you that eggshell feel. They got all various
So
types.
you can do like real delicate type of playing.
I just like the way, I just like the way it feels. Now they got the kind that got grips on it that keep you from dropping it so much, but I don't like the feel of it. This feels real smooth,
Yeah.
So that's how I like it.
Okay, now let's talk about your bass guitar over there, man.
It's been sitting over there all
Matter
along.
of fact, yeah, he's looking a little lonely over
Looking
there,
lonely
man.
there.
Maybe might need a little stroking there,
Well, I'm gonna pick it up for a minute.
that guitar looks vintage as well.
Very
you know?
vintage.
Is it?
77 Fender Jazz.
77.
I'm the original owner.
That's a pretty popular bass guitar back in the 70s.
Oh yeah. Back then you could buy it for under $400.
Oh, really?
I mean, you paid 3 or 4 times that much.
Yeah, well, you was made quite a few big offers for that thing, dude.
Yeah, I got upwards of 2,000 or better.
Yeah.
I had put somebody here. I got $1,800 worth of cash for good. I know.
You won't get rid of it, huh?
It's actually the same bass Marcus Miller plays. But I got the real one. They reissued it.
Yeah, but you have the original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I call it my Larry Grant.
Yeah. Now, let's see. I know you play a lot of different musical styles. Could you maybe give us a little blues style on there?
On there?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do some funkin' blues.
what I call bluesy. Now I got a few more styles. We got jazz, rock, fusion, R&B, and funk. So what about some jazz?
Okay. Can you keep time?
Yeah. Where you at?
One, two, three, run.
Hey, all right. Okay. I'm with you. What about some rock?
You know what? Where you with a rocket at?
I don't know. I know you can do some rock though, man. Can you give us a little bit of rock?
On here?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. That might be a little rough.
That might be a little rough. Okay, well, what about fusion? Okay. Deep Purple, Smoke on the Water.
Rock with me.
All right. Now, what about fusion?
Fusion, okay, when we discuss fusion,
Yeah.
Fusion was really developed out between the 60s and 70s when a lot of cultures came together because, you know, a lot of cats, even still, there's still some prejudice today with if you play R&B, jazz cats didn't like you. Well, there was, around the 70s, a lot of jazz and funk, because funk really came from the gospel and blues roots, was starting to mix together like jambalaya. Well, if you get four cats in the band, this guy, he's classically trained, the other guy, he's R&B trained, the other guy, jazz trained. All them influences, they get together, that's what fusion is.
Okay.
You know, and I was fortunately, in the 80s, I played with the first black fusion group in Pittsburgh, Rodney McCoy and Silk.
Okay.
We was pioneers at this.
Right.
In the 80s, we was pioneers. We was only four. We all had different stuff. My background was the R&B. Rodney's was classical. Arnold Stagger was from the island. Jeff McGovern was R&B. So we was the first actual black successful fusion band in the 80s.
Yeah. Now Rodney McCoy, he plays the violinist?
Yeah.
Okay, and Arnold was
Bass
playing
player.
the bass player, so
Yeah.
you were playing guitar. On that job, huh? And Jeff Montgomery on drums. I've been trying to get Jeff on the show too. Jeff, so if you're watching, man, you got to call me, bro.
You know, he's at home. Hey, what's up, Jeff? I'll talk to your supervisor later.
Yeah. Okay, but I noticed when you're playing the bass, man, you're doing a thing with your thumb and you're coming up, you're pulling up on the strings with your finger. What is that? What is that technique? What is that all about?
Well, Graham started it with the thump thing here. And then you get octaves. You remember like the old marching band? The faster you do it, the better. Then after that, you can start mixing the rhythm. And you just come up with different ways, and you put some soul in. You can play with one. You can hit the string one time, and you can play many notes.
Yeah, I
all
like
technique.
that. Yeah, that's nice, man. Now, I was when I was reading your resume, I noticed that you also work in the role of musical director.
Yeah.
What does all that involve?
Well, you know what? Somebody have to fly the plane, okay? And if I was riding on the plane and I knew how to fly the plane, and I found out there's no pilot, I'm going to jump in the seat and make sure we get back down.
Right.
It's kind of like that. It's like, once again, some is theory. The other is just knowing. See, I enjoy playing behind people. A lot of people say, "Why don't you do the solo thing? Why don't you?" Well, I did some things, but I enjoy backing up people. Even back in the day when I met you, who we was backing up.
Right.
I enjoy backing up. I learned back when I was a teenager to play behind singers. That's the first person you better learn how to play behind. I tell you what, that's why you should learn chords, learn theory. You'll stay busy. Mm-hmm. So, but to direct is also getting the respect of all your people to trust you. Because there's plenty of times I go on a gig and they say, "No, you're going to do it. You're going to direct." I'm like, "But this is your gig." Okay, fine. You give me the ring and I'll do it.
Mm-hmm. So you could actually say if you have like 3 vocalists, you can actually assign each one of them a harmony note and things like that. Or you can tell if the keyboard player is out of key.
I don't play with people that don't know they're out of key now. It's time for you to get on something else. But for the vocals, I rather let vocalists work out vocals because that's what you do. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now maybe if I have to assign a harmony, it's probably because there's some complexities in the chords. But in general, what I find out if you've been singing and like you say 3 or 4 people singing, you kind of know where people, because you get to know each other's range. You'll know that better than I would. Mm-hmm. But my job is to make sure that music is hitting. Make sure we pushing you. I want to push you. I want you to get the best out of it. Mm-hmm. I get off on that just as much as me taking the solo. I get off like, oh, whoever's out front singing or playing the horn or whatever, I know I gave them the best. Okay. Right. And there's one more story on this. My dad always say. He said, "How come you always up there teaching these?" I said, "I'm not teaching." "Well, you showing them how to." This is what I do. Right. So it's a respect level too. Yeah.
Now let me ask you earlier. I know you've done extensive recording studio work. Mm-hmm. And do you play any differently in the studio than you would say like in a live concert situation?
Oh yes, you do and you don't. If you have to bring something to live with you, or the recording gets to be real sterile, real rigid, but you have to have more concentration. I did a session last night, and all I did is lay the rhythm track, but it swung. But you have to be able to, because a lot of people cannot capture their sound in the studio. I think some people should record live. Because they're really. That's
when their best playing is done live.
Right, Mm-hmm. But studio, because you get so much control, sometimes people get in the studio, they find out they can sound like anything. They're going to spend more time with the knobs and sliders than like, let's play, man. Mm-hmm. Okay? Right. But and as you should know, it's more of a mind thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that you've made a lot of recordings. Would you like to tell us what some of those were?
Well, my first very opportunity to do some recording was somebody that me and you both share. Yeah. Mr. Big Dave Williams. Yeah. I was 17 then, and that's when I met you.
So you were 17, huh?
Yeah. I just got out of high school.
Yeah. I thought that bass looked familiar.
Yeah, it's 31 years old. But see, I didn't pioneer nothing, a soul in nothing. See your thing? Nah. But what I dug, that was my very first time. And Dave gave me a lot of freedom. He gave me a heck of, I was shocked that I had that much freedom because I just like, I didn't know nothing about no stereo. I didn't know how to get a sound, but I learned how to get a sound. Gave me a lot of freedom. And after that, I did some stuff with Tim Stevens, did like 3 CDs with him. Matter of fact, actually 4, because about 2 years ago, he did like a collaboration, and he looked at me and said, I didn't realize you played on all this stuff with me. I said, yeah. Yeah, I did, okay? Heck, I'll be honest, I forget half the people I done played. I'll be totally honest, you know. Yeah. Did some stuff with Rodney McCoy. I did some stuff with, oh man, I did some stuff with Walt Madness. I forget all the people. Sometimes I get somebody to come up and say, I had somebody about 2 years ago said, I was in a rummage sale and I picked up so-and-so's album and your name's on it.
Something you forgot about.
Yeah, something I forgot about.
Yeah. Oh, for those of you just joining us, we're talking to guitar great Mr. Larry Keith Estes from Funk Incorporated. Larry, you did some very interesting playing for us earlier. You were playing the guitar and you were utilizing playing with your teeth. How did that come about?
Well, the first person I saw doing this, well, really I didn't see him do it, but saw footage of was Jimi Hendrix. But the first person I really saw do it was Ernie Isley from the Isley Brothers. And he used to get on his knees, put his guitar behind his back, put it up to his face, and you know, purple haze come through his mind, whatever, I don't know. And yeah, that's how I started doing it. But you have to practice this, because if you do it the wrong way, it'll pop your lip and it's really painful, or hit your gums and bleed.
You sound like you.
Yeah, I'd have.
From experience.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got some more. No.
Well, I mean, from seeing you do it, looks like that you perfected it now, though. But
yeah.
I've seen you do it quite a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one thing I like about watching you perform is that, you know, some of the other guys, I mean, they play, but you seem to like you really get into it, man. You're more animate when you're on stage, man. You know what I mean? I mean, you do the thing with the guitar and the teeth and all that, you know, and you got the body movements, and you start moving in more of a performance than just playing music. You know, you start getting into the performance thing, and I really enjoy that. But I know I've noticed that you play like a softer style. Matter of fact, we have a clip that from one of your performances, man, and you were playing like a softer style of playing. If we could roll that clip, we want to show you this. That was Larry Keith Estes performing at CJ's. Actually, he was performing with Flo Wilson and the Old School Band.
Yeah, you got some surprises for me. I didn't
Yeah, I
know
got
nothing
some
about that
surprises
one.
for you. Actually, I have another clip for you. It's from the same performance, but it's a little different style of music than the jazz style that you were playing right there. And if we could, I'd like to show you this clip right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again on lead guitar, Mr. Larry Keith Estes. Oh, Scotland.
Yeah, Larry, I really enjoyed you down there that night, man.
Man, you got a can full of surprises for me. And I remember that night. I ain't gonna say nothing. It was crunk. I'll put it that way.
Okay,
It was definitely crunk.
Yeah. Now I know like the first clip you were playing like a jazzy type of style, and then the second, that last clip, it was more of a blues style. Who were some of your influences when you were growing up?
Okay, now I got so many heroes. For the jazz, it definitely had to be Wes Montgomery and of course George Benson. But I got a lot of let's say unsung heroes. Like one of my favorite rhythm guitar player is a shout out to him, Mr. Al McKay for Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yeah.
That left-handed man can play some rhythm all night long. I mentioned Ernie Isley. When they get the blues tip, of course, B.B. King, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Nile Rodgers getting back to the rhythm. I got a whole lot of, what bag? I mean, there's John Scofield when we get to the fusion side, and Mike Stearns. I mean, he goes, man.
Okay, what about bass players? Who influenced you on that instrument?
Originally, Larry Graham.
Larry Graham was he did it for you.
Jazz. Vern Dean White, once again, we were Earth from the Fire bag.
You know what was interesting? You said Verdine White. You know who really influenced Verdine White? Have you ever heard the name Louis Satterfield?
The trombone player.
Trombone player. Louis was a bass player.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah,
Also, I
did you
saw
know
him
that?
play bass with Earth, Wind and Fire.
Did you see him?
Yeah, because when they went to the high, you remember they had the spot where they all went into the pyramid?
Right.
Well, he was back there.
Louis took over the bass.
Right, I knew that, yeah.
Okay,
And once
yeah.
again, bass and trombone, the same register.
Yeah, I remember that when you said at the beginning of the show about the
Well,
bass
I
and
see you up
trombone.
on you. I see you up on your
Yeah, I'm learning something too,
discography.
man.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's great, man. So I tell you, as far as like the music industry now, man. I mean, when we were coming up during the '70s, it was everybody was singing and playing, man. Even like here in Pittsburgh, there was bands everywhere, man. All the clubs had live entertainment, man. And then like later on, disco came out, and then the club owners felt it would be cheaper to just to hire a DJ. And a lot of guys, man, they start getting older and they start getting families and they stop playing, So, I mean, we came up, I think, like on the tail end of like an era, I mean, even in the music industry, I mean, everybody, it was the Temptations. There was so much music out during the '70s. What do you think about the music industry today and the products it's putting out today as opposed to the stuff that we grew up listening to?
All sizzle, no steak, a lot of it. I'm not to criticize, don't get me wrong, but they have not made no music. Nobody came out with nothing really new in about 15, 20 years, as far as I'm concerned. They're like, oh, wow, wait, that's it. They come out with more different sounds. You sample more stuff. It's not the criticism. Some of the stuff is good. I like this, I like some of the stuff myself. But had they really come up with something new? When was the last time something new like new to their like, oh wow, because like back in the '60s, since we're talking Temptations, the Motown sound, that was a sound all by itself. Then you had the Watt Stax sound. You had the Memphis sound. You had different sounds, and they all sound differently.
Right.
In the '70s, man, you had P-Funk, you had Earth and Fire, you had Cool and everybody's record you can put on sound. There were some copycats, but I'm gonna tell you the favorite copycats was the Bart Kays.
Yeah.
Because the Bart Kays would go listen to what's the hit song on now. We're gonna write a song after it,
Yeah.
But now it's just like the music part does not. There's not a lot of music to it. It just sounds.
Right. I mean, the 3-part harmony seemed like this went out the window.
I mean, even the chord progression went out the window. It's sounds.
Yeah.
And I guess it's more geared to. I mean, even when I hear you might hear somebody sing it. There's no chord progression no more. Mm-hmm. Where did that go? Okay, fine. But when you hear them live, someone try to use bands to give it that real feel.
Yeah.
But there's nothing to play.
Right. Yeah. Now, I noticed that when I was looking over your information that you had toured Japan.
Yeah.
Well, what was that like for you?
6 months of heaven.
Was it?
Yeah.
You really enjoyed it, huh?
Well, yeah. Well, I was basically just in one town for 6 months. Supposed to be there for 3 months, 90 days. And at the end of the age, I said, you have anywhere would you like to stay here another 90 days? I gave him like a 2-second thought, like, what I really got to do? Yes, I'll be here.
Now, was you playing guitar on that job, or were you playing bass?
Primarily guitar, but there was times because, well, I'll tell you a funny joke. I bought a money into it. The bass player, he was from out of Georgia. He decided he wanted to do some arm wrestling with one of the Japanese guys. Them Japanese guys, they skinny, but they got technique. We was on break. When me and the keyboard player come back from a break, we saw the bass player. He was in pain. Oh man! Asked him what he did. He said he arm wrestled, and the bass player was real stubby. He was about 210 or something. This guy maybe about $120, $130 or something. And he broke his arms. So I wound up playing bass until they was able to fly another bass player over.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't find a guitar. I said, I don't care if you find a guitar, but the only thing is if they would have flied a guitar player on me playing bass, they had to buy me a bass because I didn't have a bass. But they wouldn't find me a bass though.
Yeah, that sounds good. So, actually, well, obviously you had to have a passport to get over there.
Yeah.
Now, would you go over there again?
Yeah.
Or anywhere else in the world? Would you perform anywhere else?
Anywhere, but there's one spot, and I'm not gonna say. There's one spot in the world I won't go, but yeah.
Pretty much you'll go. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Nothing like being on the plane for 14 hours.
Well, what about the tour you did in Los Angeles? What was that like?
This was Rodney McCoy and Silkins back in '85. It really was a dare. We had a young lady in the band who got married to this entrepreneur, and he was kind of like high flighty, and he said, "Would you come to Los Angeles?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Look, I want you to come to L.A., man. Let's leave tomorrow, you know." I was like, "Come on, man." I'm like, "You must be on some chemical or something." So he pulled out the money, a stack of money. He said, "Here's the plane tickets once you come." And I went out there for about 6 weeks. Played in different clubs. And, the one club is still out there, Page 2, I believe. That's been like 25 years. Oh, yeah, 25, yeah.
Oh, it's been that long?
Almost 25 years, yeah. It's 85,
Yeah.
23 years, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a chance to go a few spots in the world.
I tell you what, man. I remember, and I don't know if you might have forgot about this, but we were doing an Omega Sunrise gig, and we were playing at Meadville College. It was the coldest day of
I
winter.
remember, and we
you
were
remember,
2.5 hours late.
And you know why? Because the van broke down
Yeah.
one exit from our exit, and we had to pile into your car, man, because you was the only one that had the car then.
Well, I must have had
Yep.
that big long Oldsmobile.
That's right,
The
that's
drunk,
right.
You got 2 miles to the gallon.
That's right. And we got in your car and we left the van and all the equipment right there on the side of the road. And we went and found a U-Haul place and came back, transferred the equipment. By the time we got to the
was
college,
like a foot and a half of snow, it seemed like.
A foot and a half of snow. Everybody had went home.
And we played the rest. We didn't get paid. He said, but y'all can pay so you can have
So
board.
we had somewhere to stay
like-
that night.
And I think they gave us a plate of food and said, we'll feel sorry for you.
Yep.
Your boys had it
Well,
rough.
guess what, man? I'll get it to you, but I have a copy of that show, man, on CD.
Man, you got everything. You had CDs before CDs.
I've been trying to get you to come over to the house, so maybe I can get
Well,
you
we're
over
gonna do
here
that.
now, man.
We're gonna do that before 2009. Okay.
So anything else you want to tell the people, man, before we wrap this all up, man?
Man, just support this music around here, man.
Well, real quick, when you said support the music, you was talking to me earlier about the casinos that they're thinking about going into. I mean, about building. And although me myself, I don't believe in gambling, I don't gamble, and I don't even believe in all that. But you know, you were saying how, as far as like the local musicians around here might be able to benefit from that venue. What do you think about that?
Well, it's gonna definitely open up some avenues. I mean, I don't have the inside. I'm not gonna sit and say I have the inside connection or nothing, but it's definitely gonna open up some connections. I don't want to talk too much about it, but it should give musicians some jobs. A lot of people ask, why ain't no bands? Well, if you don't have no work, you're not gonna have a band. Band don't stay together staying in the cellar, okay? Just don't. Especially as you get older, as you say, as we get older, you have families, you have other jobs, other commitments. It is hard to be my age and still play music. I mean, on any level, because most people my age, it's a hobby. I've had plenty of relationships, and it always gets back to, well, you need to do this and that, and no, I need to do what God gave me to do. Okay, and so just support the music, man.
Okay. Now, I know that you really enjoy playing, you love playing, and I know that you have given us such excitement over the years, man. I mean, I remember when we were on the Vibrations television show, man. Way back in the day, we were doing television shows together, you know.
I gotta get
And
that
it's just
footage.
so many fond memories that I have, man. But I just want to let you know, man, I really enjoyed you coming on.
Okay.
It was really a
this-
pleasure, man.
yes.
Thanks for the ride, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Larry Keith Estes. If you have any questions for him, you can get in touch with Larry, Funk Incorporated. And Larry, would you do us a favor? Would you take us home?
Yes. Let's go home like this. I need you.
Mm.